Bernie Sanders is running for president again. We'll see what reaction students have to his announcement.
And Long Beach is leading the way in affordable housing. Hear what Governor Gavin Newsom had to say about what comes next.
The Oscars are around the corner, and so is the after party. We'll take you behind the scenes to see what the stars will have. Annenberg TV News is next.
Live from USC, you're watching Annenberg TV News.
I'm asking you today to be part of an unprecedented grassroots campaign of 1 million active volunteers in every state in our country.
Senator Bernie Sanders just added his name to an expanding list of Democratic candidates for president. Good evening, I'm Cecil Hannibal.
And I'm Noelle Medina. Sanders has been the topic of conversation among people on both sides of the political spectrum, including some at USC. Bernie Sanders' campaign says it has already raised $4 million since he announced his candidacy this morning. Reporter Albert Chen got reaction from students.
Hi, I'm Bernie Sanders. I'm running for president.
Bernie Sanders is running for president again. He is the 12th person to enter the race and the 6th senator.
Our campaign is about transforming our country and creating a government based on the principles of economic, social, racial, and environmental justice.
I think it's great that he's running because I think more Democrats will be pushed farther to the left because of him, which I think is great because I do love his policies.
I feel like he will gain some kind of traction with everyone, especially now that they've kind of seen like how different our whole society has changed since Trump has been in office. I think now this is the time for very liberal aimed politics or policies that he has to come into play.
At 77 years old, Sanders is the oldest candidate running for president. Unruh Institute Director Bob Strum talked about Sanders' candidacy today.
I don't think we know how age will play out for Bernie Sanders. Or a lot of that will depend, I suspect, on two factors. One, how Bernie Sanders performs during the campaign. Does he seem vigorous? And number two, how are younger voters who are going to have a big impact in the Democratic primary process going to react to someone who's older?
Some Republicans are excited about Sanders' run for president.
I think it's probably a good thing for the Republicans because it gives them kind of something else to poke fun at. And if he got the nomination, honestly, I'd probably be kind of excited because I think the chances of Trump winning in 2020 just got a little bit higher.
Sanders is now the only candidate who has made a previous presidential bid. For Annenberg Media, I'm Albert Chen.
Thank you, Albert. Well, Senator Bernie Sanders had buzz on campus and on social media. He was even trending on Twitter. Take a look at some of these posts. Kelsey says, quote, "You have my full support. I'll continue to stand by you in our fight for political revolution." But on the other side, Judith Davis is not a supporter. She's posting, "He is a part of the reason we have this current nightmare." Wow. USC professor Matthew Levesque compares the number of social media posts of Sanders to those of his opponent, Kamala Harris.
But if we break it down, and we go to look in Twitter and we look at who's buzzing in the conversation, what we see is Senator Harris in at more than 2.5 million mentions. The next highest one is Senator Sanders at 350,000 mentions. And when we go through all the mentions on it, Senator Harris is substantially a larger part of the conversation than Senator Sanders at this point. Two things. One, I think the time period, because she announced some time ago and there's been more buzz on it. And I think the second thing is she is new and fresh. It's another female running for president of the United States. Bernie Sanders ran last time, so there may be a lot more buzz about her also.
Professor Levesque also says it may be too early to make any predictions based on social media, but we know social media will play a key factor in the next election. President Trump is being sued over his latest attempt to fund the border wall.
And our political anchor Sophie Hausch is here with a look at what states have filed suit. Sophia.
California and 15 other states have filed lawsuits against President Trump's declared national state of emergency. He made the announcement on Friday to fund his proposed border wall. The lawsuit was filed yesterday in a San Francisco federal court, with California being one of the 16 states filing suit. All of the states suing have Democratic attorneys general, and all but Maryland also have Democratic governors. The group claims that Trump's declaration is unconstitutional and there's no emergency.
A Republican Congress has refused to appropriate money for this, and a Democratic and Republican Congress has refused to appropriate money for this. So this is a constitutional power grab by the president. That does not mean that the courts are going to agree to hear the case ultimately. There's a constitutional question, but it's a constitutional question that might have to be resolved at the ballot box.
Trump's declaration prompted several President's Day protests across the country, including in San Francisco, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Seattle, and several other major cities. But Trump defended his decision earlier today, saying, quote, "We have an absolute right to do that, an absolute right to call national security. We need strong borders." Organizations have also sued the president's declaration, including the nonprofit Public Citizen and a group of wildlife organizations. The ACLU is also expected to file a lawsuit. Back to you.
Alrighty, thanks, Sophia. Well, on to state news now. California Governor Gavin Newsom toured an affordable housing complex in Long Beach, and Annenberg Media's Taylor Elliot has more on how the units are helping people get back on their feet.
Nearly 50,000 residents in Long Beach call Century Villages at Cabrillo home. The development is one step the city is taking to address the rising cost of living in California.
For 50 years, the state has simply not done its job. We're developing about 100,000 housing units a year. We need to be doing 400,000 housing units a year.
3 different housing units are available for people living alone, families, and veterans. Support services are available on site, including a social hall, career center, community garden, and a network of caseworkers.
That they have a 1-bedroom for me and my daughter, and we can have it if we want it. I say yes. And so we did, and they even helped us with the moving costs, with the housing and all that.
For Mackenzie, the help she needed couldn't have come at a more perfect time, right before her transitional housing was set to end.
It was really nice. And so then we moved in right at the end of our 6 months.
The city plans to continue its mission. Currently, they're building a new housing development modeled after the one behind me in the heart of downtown Long Beach.
As a former county supervisor and mayor, Newsom understands the importance of affordable housing.
It's table stakes for me as governor to address the issue of affordability. Because if I don't do that, I don't belong here.
Newsom hopes cities across the state will follow in Long Beach's footsteps, and he says he's ready to give them the tools to do so. For Annenberg Media, I'm Taylor Elliott.
And Governor Gavin Newsom is endorsing Holly Mitchell for a spot on the LA County Board of Supervisors. If she wins, the state senator would be representing the district that includes USC. Mitchell has been a state senator since 2013. Before that, she served on the California State Assembly for 3 years. She specializes in child welfare, health, and has been a leader in preventing sexual assault and harassment.
And this is an amazing opportunity, as the governor so eloquently talked about, going local and being able to bring the vast experience I've gained now serving as your assemblywoman, now your senator, to hopefully come back and be one of 5. LA County Board of Supervisors is the most powerful elected body in the country.
Los Angeles City Council President Herb Wesson announced he is also running for county supervisor. Wesson has served as council president since 2012. He has been working to increase the minimum wage, provide legal assistance for residents facing deportation, and create community initiatives. And former Los Angeles City Council member Jan Perry is also in the race for county supervisor. She has focused her platform on finding a solution to homelessness, building new infrastructure to create jobs, and making social services more accessible. All 3 candidates are competing to replace Mark Ridley Thomas. He has been a county supervisor for a decade and is stepping down because of term limits.
Moving from politics to news on campus, a stomach virus has spread throughout USC's campus for the 2nd time since 2016. According to an email sent out on Sunday by USC Housing, most of the students affected are in the same fraternity house. The email also outlined precautionary measures.
When we become concerned is when we see kind of a cluster or a large number of people in one community that are becoming sick. We know that in that case, we can start to see rapid spread.
Students are aware of these precautions, but said they don't find them that helpful.
2016, my first semester of sophomore year. It was going around a lot of the freshman dorms. I knew a lot of people from like my different organizations that had it, and it was really bad. Basically, if you got it, you were just kind of out of commission.
It seemed like a pretty severe problem by the way they worded it. It was pretty non-helpful too, as far as like resources involving how to prevent and how to like mitigate it once you do have it. I think if it's actually that big of a deal, there has to be a lot more steps taken as far as the sanitation of where we live and basically the means we have to prevent ourselves from getting sick.
USC Housing says some symptoms include frequent vomiting, diarrhea, stomach cramps, fatigue, chills, and headaches. Wow, it's a nasty bug. Treatments include drinking plenty of liquids, avoiding alcohol and sugary drinks, and getting plenty of rest. University Housing says it's already stepped up cleaning protocols to lower the chances of spreading the norovirus. Kaiser Permanente is opening up a medical school. Find out what they're offering their first 5 incoming classes.
And a feast fit for an Oscar winner. See what Hollywood stars will have to eat and drink once the awards are handed out.
And USC spring admits now have more ways to get connected on campus. Find out what the new Ambassador Program means for them next.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation.
America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
迷惑ボーイ。ここはなんとかしなくちゃ。
スーパーカインドの交通機関案内。
When you ride on the bus or rail, don't eat popcorn, meat, or kale. Food can smell and it makes a mess. Keep LA Metro clean and fresh. Come along with me, let's go. It's time to ride on the Metro. When eating food causes problems, you know Superkind will be there to solve them. Come along with me, let's go. It's time to ride on the Metro. When eating food causes problems, you know Superkind will be there to solve them.
Kaiser Permanente is building a new medical school in Pasadena, and tuition will be free for the first 5 classes. The healthcare corporation says if students graduate debt-free, they'll be able to go into lower-paying specialties like family medicine.
It's an incentive for us to go there and not graduate with student debt. I know that for me, it'll be a huge deciding factor of where I go to med school based on the tuition and how much debt I'll be graduating with. Because when I graduate, I just want to practice medicine. I don't want to have to worry about paying it off.
Pre-med students can start applying this June for admission in the summer of 2020.
77 years ago today, FDR ordered West Coast residents of Japanese descent to relocate to internment camps. Now, that included USC students. And when the war was over, USC refused to give those students their transcripts.
I think as a history major and knowing that history, it makes me appreciate where USC was in the past and the role it's played in those experiences and how we've worked to rectify and continuing to work to rectify those issues today. So I think it's very, very important to, like I said, history, we learn it not to learn what happened, but to understand how we got here. So learning about the past to understand why these things are happening again and how we can try to rectify and fix those things so that they don't happen again.
USC finally gave those students their diplomas in 2012, but by then many had already died.
A new ambassador program will help students arriving to USC this spring. It's designed to connect spring admits with upperclassmen students. Last year, transfer students made up of almost 10% of the incoming fall class. According to USC data, 50% come from community colleges, 7% come from private colleges and universities, and 10% from Cal State universities, 20% from out-of-state colleges, and 6% came from international colleges.
So far, it hasn't been that great. There's a lack of involvement for transfer students on campus. I think that they should gear more events towards transfer students, because currently they only really have the transfer student lunch.
I think there was a lack of not a lack of resources, but fewer resources available than I think ideal for spring admission students and transfer students. So this new program is great because it allows for a lot of other spring admits to interact with incoming spring admission students and have more of that like personal connection.
The program's goal is to ease the transition to USC for spring admits and welcome the new students to the Trojan family.
Well, it's been nice and sunny, but really brisk.
It has been cold. It's been cold, especially for California, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be sunny all the time. Well, there's more rain on the way. Let's check in with our weather anchor, Heather Melendez. Heather, what's going on with the weather?
Yeah, totally, guys. How great was yesterday, though? We had no school, great weather, and then we had the supermoon. So with the supermoon comes clear skies, and then we also had a frost advisory. So let's check into today's weather as it starts to trickle in. Today we had an average of 54, but again, it's drier air, so we don't have the mix of the hot and the cold, so things are going to start to feel a little bit cooler than what they are into the week. With the snow and the rain of last week, we actually have a record-breaking 30 at Big Bear, and things start to cool down in the Inland Empire as well and to Riverside. Moving on into the mountains and the valleys, we actually start to see it cool down as well. 51 in Thousand Oaks and 56 in Malibu, and a nice brisk 54 in the valleys. As well as 56 in Northridge, so you might want to get your jacket. And as we start moving into the coast and into the UC area, we start to see USC with a 58 and Pasadena 53, but then we have a low pressure system, so we start to see it cool down in the beaches as well. Going on to our 5-day forecast, we can see things starting to cool down as well, with the bulk of the rain actually starting at 6 p.m. Wednesday, and then the bulk of the rain on Thursday, but things start to warm up as we head towards the week. USC surf team hasn't been able to practice for over a week. That's because the water is so polluted from the heavy rains. I spoke to the team captain, who says he understands the health risks.
It's been raining a lot recently. That's kind of had an impact on the club. But there is some risk of different things, bacteria and other things wash in the water, and you can get something as bad as hepatitis. There's a buildup of pesticides, bacteria, literal feces that can wash into the water all at once. We can't really bring students, especially less knowing students, into the water under those conditions. So a lot of our events have had to been postponed.
Even though the team can compete, Jason admits he's still surfing on his own. The rain is expected to return for Thursday. Guys, I can't even get out of my house to turn on my car. Like, I have no idea how he's going surfing at this time.
It's crazy.
It's freezing. Well, and hopefully the rain will subside before the weekend because we've got the Academy Awards red carpet rolling out. Annenberg Media's Melody Waintal now takes us behind the scenes to see what the stars will be eating and drinking after they win their award.
Salmon caviar, chocolate-covered strawberries, and tiny vegetarian tacos are a few of the many items on the menu for this year's Oscars Governor's Ball.
The Oscars might not be ready, but we are. I'm Melody Waintal, and I'm here on the 5th floor of the Dolby Theater, where stars like Rami Malek, Christian Bale, Emma Stone will be partying on Oscar Sunday. Come follow me, and we'll see what they're gonna eat.
Every year, the Academy hosts an exclusive party where only the nominees and their guests are invited to attend. The evening is filled with high-quality, fancy food created by Wolfgang Puck. Celebrating his 25th year with the Academy, the celebrity chef tells us a little bit about the old days when the winners used to party at Spago after the ceremony.
I remember the last parties we had with Swifty Lazar at Spago, which were amazing, with all the old stars and the new stars. We had, for example, Jimmy Stewart, Cary Grant, Elizabeth Taylor, Gene Kelly, you name them, plus the young stars at that time like Madonna and Michael Jackson and Johnny Depp. They were all like kids at that time.
On top of the Wagyu beef that will be served that evening, Piper Heidsieck offers their limited edition champagne. Francis Ford Coppola Winery animated their label to step up their game from last year's unique design. Mixologist Charles Jolie created 6 different signature drinks, including a non-alcoholic option.
We create a full menu with the different flavor profiles because we know that there's a lot of different tastes walking in the room, and so something for everyone and that's the goal. We want to make sure that no one walks up to our bar and walks away empty-handed.
The cocktails are decorated with orange peels, hibiscus flowers, and let's not forget the paper straws.
You've seen the food, you've seen the desserts, and you've seen the drinks. Now let's see who wins on Oscar Sunday. This is Melody Waintal.
I didn't get invited again, but that's another story.
Maybe next year.
Our sports anchor Faith Bonds here to talk about USC hoops. What's going on?
That's right, Cecil. USC Women's Basketball came close to victory on Sunday, but fell short. We'll recap Sunday's game and look at what they need to improve. Baseball took on the University of Nebraska Omaha this weekend. We talked to Coach Hubbs about their takeaways from the leadoff series. And a USC men's basketball player set a school record. We'll have more on that after the break.
Guys, honestly, 5 more minutes. Like.
Super Kind の交通機関案内。
I see you blocking the aisle. That's a rude thing to do. This causes problems because people can't get around you. So when you bring your things like bags or luggage, put them in the proper place. That's metro etiquette. When you're on the train, you need to leave some space so we can go about our day. Don't block the doors or block the aisles. That is not okay. You need to leave some space, so can you please get out the way? Leave some room for the rest of us.
Super Kind のように優しくね。
USC Women's Basketball kicked off their week with a heart-wrenching loss to 10th-ranked Stanford on Sunday. The Cardinal took down the women of Troy 69-67, despite being behind the Trojans until the last 7 minutes of the game. Both teams brought major intensity and physicality the entire 40 minutes. Stanford sunk 3 consecutive three-pointers to take the lead late in the fourth quarter. The women of Troy fired back, and lead scorer Mignon Moore tied the game up with 23 seconds left on the clock. It wasn't enough, though, as Stanford sealed the deal with a final layup to win the game. Senior guard Aaliyah Mazik explained what her team needs to do to stay competitive in the rest of Pac-12 play.
Just continuing to work every day from practice and to the classroom, and just keeping that consistency with everyday life. And, you know, the effort is there. You just got to figure small things out. We're starting to figure it out, kind of, and then we have a relapse, and then kind of figure out, and it's kind of too late to relapse, but you know, we'll take everything we can and you know, try to be positive.
To win this weekend, the women of Troy will need to improve their shooting and take advantage of offensive rebounds. They're traveling to Corvallis on Friday to take on Oregon State before playing top-ranked Oregon on Sunday. Another team that could use some organization is USC Baseball. Let's toss it over to Sam Arslanian at the Monitor to make sense of their opening series this weekend.
Thanks, Faith. USC Baseball has its second series coming up this weekend against Arkansas. This past weekend, the Trojans posted a series win over Omaha, Nebraska, but it wasn't pretty by any means. The Trojans opened the series with a walk-off win on Friday, but that was after trailing by 4 heading into the bottom of the 8th. Brandon Perez knocked in the final run of their comeback win. USC would follow up its narrow victory with an absolute beatdown the next day. The Trojans tacked up 11 runs, with 8 of them having been scored in a single inning. They also held the Mavericks to just 3 hits. But Sunday was a different story and rings trouble for USC going forward. Failing to notch a sweep, the Trojans fell to the Mavericks in the final matchup of the weekend by a score of 12-9. Freshman starter Chandler Champlain didn't make it out of the first inning after he was pulled for allowing 5 earned runs in 2/3 of an inning. However, the biggest area of improvement for the Trojans is limiting walks. We talked to Coach Hubbs about his team's focus going forward.
You know, I thought on Sunday we let a couple opportunities early in the game get away from us. We didn't walk a lot of guys this weekend, but the innings that really got out of hand started with a walk, or we had multiple walks in that inning, so we're going to focus on that.
The Trojans will stay at home this upcoming weekend to take on the College World Series runner-up Arkansas Razorbacks. If the Trojans want to have a shot this weekend, they will need to tighten things up by Thursday. That's all for baseball. Faith, back to you at the desk.
Yeah, hopefully baseball can get it together. In USC's 89-66 romp over the California Golden Bears this Saturday, Benny Boatwright set a USC record for the most three-pointers in one game. The senior forward sunk 10 three-point shots and tallied 36 total points to carry the Trojans to victory. Helping his effort were freshman Kevin Porter Jr., who put 14 points on the board, and junior Nick Rakocevic adding 12. The Trojans will need to keep building on their record to stay relevant in the Pac-12. They're currently 7th in the conference and will be playing teams ranked above and below them in their final 5 games.
Benny hit 10 threes.
I can't believe it. He's insane.
I gotta start going to these games. But the School of Cinematic Arts is celebrating its 90th birthday.
We'll show you how the school is honoring its rich history next.
Hey guys, Danny Trejo here. There was going to be a whole song and dance routine about how you should wait your turn to enter the train. But they got me, Danny Trejo, to talk to you instead. Look, when you don't wait your turn to enter the train, it's rude and potentially dangerous. And believe me, I know a thing or two about rude and dangerous. I'm Danny Trejo. Don't be like rude, dude. Be kind, like super kind. Excuse me.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. As it turns out, we have very similar personalities. And this cat makes me make art because he's always motivating me to take pictures of him, to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. It's just that simple. Well, he's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
The USC School of Cinematic Arts is celebrating its 90th anniversary, and the school is now honoring notable alumni and their accomplishments with a special exhibit. USC became the first American university to offer a Bachelor of Arts degree in film when faculty members Douglas Fairbanks and D.W. Griffith founded SCA back in 1929. The School of Cinematic Arts has had a great influence on film, television, and most recently, interactive media. And of course, this weekend we've got the 91st annual Oscars.
So what you're saying is I should have been a filmmaker. I should have been on TV. I should have been in the movie.
You were made for that.
A movie star, maybe. You know, who knows?
Thanks for watching, everyone. From Annenberg Media, I'm Noelle Medina.
And I'm Cecil Hannibal. You can watch us on the web at uscannenbergmedia.com. Good night.
You guys tuning in to the Oscars?